If you're looking to build rugged, rustic, or just plain utility focused items, this video might not be for you. However, if you're tired of your projects coming out sloppy, then this video is for you. In Leathercraft, you get better by either improving your skill set slowly over time, or you can pick up the tools that I'm showing you today and improve your projects almost immediately. We've got a sponsor today. Thank you to Monport for sending out the Reno 45 Pro laser engraver. I've been having a ton of fun with this machine. I've made a bunch of my own acrylic tools and jigs with it, and the fact that I can engrave and cut leather, as well as many other materials, is a bonus. The best part about it is that it's an all-inclusive machine. It comes with its own enclosure, exhaust fan, and water pump, so setup is easier than with most other engravers. Thanks again to Monport. More on the Reno 45 Pro laser later in the video. Stitch line markers. You may already own a wing divider, and this is what most people use to mark their stitch lines. The problem with wing dividers is you have to measure out the distance yourself, and while that can be done fairly accurately, it does lead to some inconsistencies if you don't measure it appropriately. Also, sometimes the measurement can change while you're using it, because wing dividers have a bit of flex to them. However, this fixed distance stitch marking tool, which I made with my laser engraver, is my preferred method for marking my edges. Because it is set to a specific distance, there's no need to measure it each time you use it, and of course because there is no bend, there is less variability. There's a very small difference between this and this, but those tiny percentage points, again, are the things that are going to bring out the best Leathercraft. A set of corner punches or a corner radius tool. So there are several options for rounding your corners out. And what I used to do when I was a beginner was, of course, I would just sit here and kind of scribe out a radius that I liked, and then I'd go in and cut that. Or I would take something that is already round and kind of line it up and trace that, and that works too. However, either if you are like me and you scribe out your edge radius, it might be inconsistent, and also you might not have something lying around that is the correct radius, and then you're sort of at the mercy of all these circular shaped objects in your home, hoping that you have one that is correct. You might also see some people use like quarters or dimes. So there are options like these corner punches. Corner punches make it really easy to line up both edges, pop it down, and get a perfectly clean cut every single time. I love these corner punches, however, they can be quite expensive, and that could be pretty prohibitive, particularly to a beginner who might not be looking to spend that much money. The alternative is a corner radius tool. All you do is line your piece up perfectly at the corner, take your knife, and you can go slowly chopping off more and more of the corner with each pass, and there you have a perfectly rounded edge. What I'm seeing in a lot of beginner pieces is an inconsistent corner cut, and that can be one way to easily improve your Leathercraft, especially at such a low cost when compared to the corner punches. 90-degree rulers or bump jigs. 90-degree rulers are useful in all kinds of crafts, but in Leathercraft they're useful specifically as bump jigs. You take whatever piece you're working on, particularly one that is square, which many pieces do tend to be square, and you bump it up right against the arms of the ruler. You then use that to make other types of measurements. For example, what you saw me do earlier was take the corner radius, bump up the leather against it, and then bump up the corner radius against the bump jig. Removing that, you then are sure that this edge and this edge are perfectly lined up before you make your cuts. Another great use for a bump jig is to use them in pairs. If you have this larger one here and then a thinner bump jig like this one, you can place them together, and now you have an accurate measurement for placing a stamp to ensure that you get the correct distance every time. And if you hand draw your own patterns, 90-degree rulers are crucial for ensuring that you get a perfect 90-degree angle. Chisel puller. Another problem you may be having is that your stitches are coming out messy. And sometimes that is a result of brute forcing the holes, and I'll show you what I mean. Sometimes when you're punching, you'll notice that your leather gets stuck on these stitching chisels. And sometimes it really is stuck on there, and if you go to pull it, what you do is you bend and warp the leather. It isn't as much of a problem with these French style irons, but I definitely experience it when I use diamond chisels. Diamond chisels have more surface area, and so when you go to pull that out, it really wants to stay on there. And especially in this lighting, you can see the imperfections it causes. The leather is being stretched and warped, and the edges of the stitching holes are malformed. One way that you can prevent this warping and improve your stitch line is by using a stitch puller. After stitching, you simply slide the stitch puller over and push down on the leather. You can then pull out your chisel without marring or stretching the leather. Even as a side-by-side, you can see that this side is much cleaner than this side, and it's those tiny differences that add up to big differences when you are trying to create a nice, clean stitch. Stitching pony. If you go back to my oldest videos, you'll see me do this too. Stitching freehand, where you just let the piece bumble around. And the issue with this, of course, is that it creates an inconsistency. You end up pulling in different directions slightly each time, depending on which way the piece is leaning. And because the piece is flopping around, you end up having to waste a lot of energy chasing your piece, especially when these strings are a lot longer. Now I use big thread so you can see, and I didn't do this on purpose, but these 3 stitches are nice, and then I dropped a stitch. Right here you can see it's coming from underneath this one, but then it's underneath this one as well, so this stitch is hanging low. That is a mistake that came from not having a stitching pony. When I was brand new, I put off on getting a stitching pony. Because it holds your leather for you, you can focus on repeating motions over and over again so that you can get a more consistent stitch line. And even on this piece of scrap leather, I was able to get a nice clean stitch. A centering ruler. Before I found out centering rulers existed, I would just, measure the entire length of a piece, find the center of that measurement, but that took a little while. A centering ruler starts from the center and goes out in the same increments, 1, 2, 3, etc. So if I want to find the center of this piece, what I do is line up that corner and this corner with the same mark on each side, and that would be about here. Then I go to the center marking, and I can make my mark. That is the perfect center of my piece. And also, centering rulers are great to have if you draw your own patterns by hand. Elliptical templates. If you've got a template that you're using for a T-pocket, or maybe you're just cutting a T-pocket out directly, suppose you might want to put a curve at the top of the T-pocket. You can either freehand it, or again, you can hunt for circular objects around your home and use it to trace out a curve. Alternatively, I have this nested elliptical tool, and you can take one of the pieces, use the grid on it to line it up, and then you can trace a curve in there as you wish. And I'm just going to take a nice delicate curve here, trace that out, and then I can go in and cut it. And there we have a nice gentle curve rather than something harsh and round like this. You can use them to mark curves for all kinds of shapes in various projects. Sanding blocks. What a lot of people do during their final edge work is take just a piece of sandpaper, fold it up, and work on the edge that way. So you're getting more of a pinpointed area of pressure rather than a nice wide area of consistent pressure. That's where a sanding block comes in. This is very cheap. I got it at a hardware store for just a few bucks. Clip your sandpaper into it, and now you have this wide, and even this sandpaper is a little too short for this block. You can get a nice wide surface on that edge that is hard as well to provide consistent pressure all the way across the edge, which is really important, especially if you're looking for that fine polished finish, because every bit of precision counts. So you can use this, or there is this option as well. This is, I believe, a nail filing sanding block or something that has to do with manicures, but you can get these in different grits. It is a bit spongy, but it is firm, and again, it is nice and wide to provide a good amount of surface area to work that edge in a nice, consistent manner. Die rollers and paint markers. Now there's lots of ways to apply dye to an edge. You see some people use tweezers and a sponge. You see other people use the classic dauber, which is just a little bit of wool on the end of a stick. But another common method you see is the use of an awl dipped right into the dye or edge paint that you're using, and you just slowly work it on to the edge. And while it takes a bit long to do, it does work. However, if you are not achieving the desired result with the awl, there are several options that you can use. For example, this is an edge roller dipped in edge paint, and it rolls right across the edge, just like this, to provide a nice, even coat of paint. These edge rollers are also a bit more time efficient, thanks to their extra surface area. I particularly like this pointed one, because it has these grooves in it that hold more paint. But now suppose you are trying to dye not with edge paint, but with just regular leather dye. Suddenly, the method with the awl is much less effective because of the thinness of the dye. And on top of that, while the edge rollers are going to fare a little bit better, they are still going to struggle, especially with spottiness. And the spottiness you'll get with either the edge roller or the awl method can create these areas that bleed into the leather, especially with natural vegetable tan. But that is where the paint marker comes in. Paint markers will typically come with a little metal BB inside to help you mix your paint around, which is nice. And they have this wide nib, which, while soft, is actually quite firm to the touch. These markers release paint in thin layers, so rather than laying on uneven globs of paint, you can go layer by layer with this marker, distributing layers of dye evenly, preventing bleed. Because the nib is so rigid, unlike the sponge method or regular daubers, you don't have to worry about accidentally getting some on the top or bottom of your piece. And there you can see the black dye has been laid on in layers, and there is a nice clean edge. You can even use these markers to put in some watered down toconal. You can get a nice even spread on the edge without all the mess that might cause damage to your piece. Mini airbrush. Most people are familiar with dauber dyeing. You take your dauber and section by section you dye your piece. But you can see how these streaks start to form. You can then turn the piece and try to cross-hatch the other way to do away with the streaks. It's worth mentioning that dyeing leather is highly dependent on the type of dye you're using, the type of leather you're using, and even the color of dye you're using. This dark blue color is pretty forgiving and honestly doesn't look too bad, but when you use lighter colors like red, that patchiness is really hard to get rid of for some people. You can try a mini airbrush. A mini airbrush applies much less dye at a time than a dauber, which means you can go over the piece layer by layer, ensuring a nice even application of dye. On top of that, you can get into fancier dye jobs, like this sunburst effect that I used on this wallet, which you can watch me make in this video here. Acrylic pattern templates. Paper templates work fine, especially when you're using a nice thick piece of paper or cardstock, and you can trace along the edges reliably. However, sometimes you might find that the thinness causes you to slip, or that the thinness also causes you to transgress the line and push inward, causing a mismark. Paper patterns also have to be replaced more often, which could become a problem if you do want to make multiple of the same project, or if you are making multiple and don't notice that the edge has been worn away, which can cause some variance in your projects. Acrylic patterns are much easier to use. They're more durable, easier to trace without the edge being bent in, and they last much longer than paper patterns do, so you can use them for multiple uses over the years. Laser engraver. Not only can you use a laser engraver to cut patterns directly into leather and etch pictures and designs onto it, but you can also use it to cut out your own acrylic templates. And you can even make tools like I did. I even used it to make this sign to go over my workspace. Look at that thing. That is awesome. And this is also a complete game changer. I experimented with it, and you can make acrylic stamps too. Now it's acrylic, so obviously you can't strike it with a hammer or it will crack. But if you have a press, like this cheap Harbor Freight arbor press, look at that. That is amazing. I even tested out this really tiny stamp, and I put it on a slightly thicker piece of acrylic. and check it out. Wow. And honestly, I just got the thing up and running, so everything you've seen me make with it so far is all I've done with it, and I'm not even sure that I can fully grasp how awesome it's going to be to use once I fully get the hang of using it. And that's everything I have for you today. If you use any, and especially all of the tools I've shown you today, your accuracy will come up and your leathercraft will very likely improve. Make sure to check the video description for links to these or similar products if you're interested in any of them. And once again, thank you to my sponsor, Montport. There's also a link to download my free Beginner's Leathercraft 101 guide. Now see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.